mpụta n'igwe n'afọ 2023 ka atụnyere ezigbote nwa afọ enye mbụ Honorable Benjamin Okezie Kalu votu enye manyị la pati APC nga ọha esiri azịza ma nwoke ma nwaanyị ma ụmụ youth ka o burukwenye la ụgbọ mmanya ahụ na-agala ihu. Ben Kalu maka ọganihu bende, Ben Kalu maka ọdịmma bende, Ben Kalu ebe a nọ akwa mmiri n'ime obodo anyị Benjamin Kalu.
Live from the city of Umuahia, from Factory Road off Bank Road, from House 7B. This is Flow 94.9 FM, the flow of God's own states.
Is Benjamin Okezie Kalu, representing the good people of Bende Federal Constituency. I am from Abia State. Arise.
From the hallowed chambers, his voice resonates crystal clear.
You say you shared money recently, and I represent the constituency, and there are 360 of us, and all of them are saying we are not feeling the impact.
He's the unmistaken voice of Undi Bende and the image maker of the House of Representatives.
Swept away houses and roads in communities like Mpa, Umimenyi, Uzita, and Bende. Mr. Speaker,
he's a committed, courageous, articulate, and deeply impassioned lawmaker with the plight of his constituents.
Joining me now on the political segment is Honorable Benjamin Kalu, who's the spokesman of the House of Representatives.
Ben Kalu's mandate gives you first-hand information on the activities of the member representing the good people of Bende Federal Constituency at the House of Representatives, Honorable Benjamin Kalu, as well as his position on national issues. Ben Kalu's mandate airs on Flow 94.9 FM and ABN Online Radio every Tuesday by 10:30 a.m. Ben Kalu's mandate, chains of quality representation.
Good morning to you. Thank you for staying with us. It is the flow of God's own state, Flow 94.9 FM. And perhaps you've been waiting for that very program, Ben Kalu's mandate. Yes, it's upon us at the moment, so draw even closer. It comes to you from the stables of Flow 94.9 FM, and it's the point where the member representing Bende Federal Constituency gets to interact and engage with the good people of Bende and, of course, Abia State in general, bringing us basically up to speed with the happenings across the National Assembly and the national issues, and of course on the state and his campaign as well. Whereas he's en route to the studio, but he will join the conversation on the line. He is currently the spokesperson of the House of Representatives and the chairman House Committee in Media and Public Affairs. And I'm talking about Representative Benjamin Okezie Kalu. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining the conversation.
the great people of Bende, to the people away from my campaign to engage with those who may not be close to feel the impact of our campaign and what we are selling to the people. And feel free to call in. We'll talk more with you today than other days. I'm happy to be here.
Oh yeah, we're happy to have you as well, and we have to start off quickly, and we have to start from the issue of the CBN policy, undoubtedly increasing difficulty for Nigerians across board to access their cash. And of course, that necessitated the National Assembly through the Speaker of the House of Assembly over there and other women in Nigerians to speak up and tabling the issues and the difficult nature of everything to the executive. And that informed the shifting or the extension of the deadline. However, finding the currency is still difficult to come by, and Nigerians are thinking, if the National Assembly are thinking of another move, maybe to bring about solution to this very issue.
Thank you, Wisdom, for raising this all-important question. I'm sure that we looked at it last time I was in your studio, and I made my position known, which is also the position of the House of Representatives with regards to this monetary policy at the moment. And the issue remains that the preparation for the introduction of this public policy, I don't think is top-notch, because if it was, the kind of hardship that is being felt across Nigeria wouldn't have been there. It is not as Herculean as this particular CBN administration has made it to look. Overseas, you have currencies change without people feeling the impact. You just go to the bank, you see that other currency is there. But that is notwithstanding the fact that notification of intention to change the currency starts long time before it happens. It's not a sudden action. It's an action that is well thought out and well planned for, and people well sensitized, and nobody is squeezed or suffocated with the timeline that is not practicable. I had wanted to come here an amendment of our laws to ensure that it is in our laws, not just at the whims and caprices of the CBN to extend or not to extend, but to enshrine it in our law. I actually drafted that bill, for a particular number of months, like 6 months, to be out there for the change of these currencies to take place, and for the currencies to run alongside the other until it will gradually phase out of the system. But to do it in this sudden fire brigade approach, and if we don't do it, that we're losing anything. It has occasioned so much hardship, not only for the commoners and the poor people, it's also for the rich. Everybody is being affected by the implementation of this particular strategy. It's one thing to say, okay, there's enough money printed, the banks are not releasing it. That is just a very little aspect of the entire problem. If you look at it holistically, why the rush? If you look at it holistically, what happens if this takes place in the next 3, 4, 5 months? What will happen? Is Nigeria going to lose a lot? And knowing fully well that this is the time politicians in an election period, there are costs for logistics. If I'm going for campaign, I need to pay the DJ that will play music there. I need to pay for the materials that we use as campaign materials, and all the rest of them. So if there is scarcity of fund in the circulation, it becomes an issue. Line transfers, the electronic bank
channel.
It has not been so improved in a way that it will be seamless. So that if you can get it via cash, the electronic system will be in place for you to get the same job done. Beautiful idea for this change of currency. Very awesome. But the timing is what I have problem with. The implementation strategy is what I have problem with. And if we can't fine-tune, I assure you Nigerians will benefit
from all the pros that goes with this particular policy.
Oh yeah, while we were still talking, astonishingly, he is now live in the studios of Flow 94.9 FM, and that will make for better understanding and seamless communication, eye contact, and all that. Thank you for, availing yourself, and of course, Albions, the opportunity to be here.
Always a pleasure to be here.
What smiles on your face, great.
Thank you very much.
Oh yeah. Now, you've mentioned some of the issues there, and frankly, so it is not just the ordinary people like you mentioned who are left in this untold hardship of having to access their own money. Even the rich, like you mentioned, are experiencing this. Goodness me, you mentioned about a bill you want to sponsor that would possibly extend it to 6 months and thereabout. Are you still going to do that? Because this may still happen in times to come if nothing is done to curtail it or give it that very path for it to naturally bedding the new currency. And on the other hand, the executive arm of government has accused CBN, rather the bank, the deposit money banks of hoarding the cash. We heard of places where the managers have been arrested and all that. I know it may not be in the purview of the National Assembly to set out modalities to monitor some of these things, but is there any way you can interfere or maybe stepping to ensure that much is done from the executive arm?
Yes, you mentioned something about the bill that I wanted to sponsor. Actually, the bill has been put it together already when I was in the U.S. with Mr. Speaker, who were attending the World Strategic Forum. This conversation about the currency came up, and I told Mr. Speaker that from my research and what change of currency and the way it went about in India affected the economy of India, the shock was so much that most businesses suffered the impact of that change of currency. That I saw this, as at that time I mentioned to him that I said I saw it coming that we're going to have ourselves in deep trouble if we don't take some steps to handle legislative interventions that will ameliorate and also guide the CBN, in their carrying out their mandate. And he saw it as a good idea. So I took about a week while I was in the United States to draft this bill. I drafted it, and I flew into the country for us to lay the bill. But the leadership asked me to wait a little bit, and I'm sure they are regretting why we didn't pass this bill as at that time. Though we don't know whether the president would have assented to it, but the content of that bill is of such that this hasty, approach to handling this issue would have been taken care of by the provisions of that particular legislation I put together. And whether or not I'm going to represent it, yes, we're on recess at the moment because of the elections. And once the election is over, we're going back to the House, and I will also lobby the leadership of the House to see that in view of the hardship we have passed through the implementation of the CBN Act with regards to currency change, that it was high time we amended it to ensure that we have a better legislation that will provide a guideline and a roadmap in case we want to do that in the future, so that it will not have a repeat. The blame game that is between the CBN and the commercial bank is not really what we are interested in at the moment, because if you have enough that is given to the commercial bank, enough to take care of the needs of Nigerians who we have asked to come and deposit their money, I don't think they will be hoarding it. They will have excess to give out. There will be no room to hoard it. It's because it's cash, and they want to now trade on it, which is not acceptable anywhere. But the CBN cannot say we are not to be blamed. We don't have any blame. It's the commercial bank that is holding the money. It's now they're only holding because they are not sure what is coming tomorrow, how much that will be released to them from CBN tomorrow. If you say you printed money, print enough so that it will be able to take care of the needs of the society, the economy at the moment. So that is it. But for us, we are not just interested with the 10 days or about. I had this 10th of February that they extended it to. It's not enough. It's not enough. You will see it that we'll get to the 10th of February, and the problem will still be here sitting with us. I'm happy that Mr. President asked that he should be given about 7 days to look into this. I pray
you are very optimistic that in no distant time.
I pray he comes out with a good solution after the 7 days. I pray he does. I pray that the advisors will advise him well. But for us, the ad hoc committee on currency change is still ongoing, and we are here to lay our report. They are here to lay their report to the House for us to know what is their finding. But we are not impressed with just the extension till the 10th of February. We need more to be done for the sake of Nigerians. The embarrassment is too much. People are removing their clothes. People are going into depression just because of a public policy that's supposed to be for the interest of the public. No.
Interestingly, we would leave that conversation pretty soon. But one of the things that was behind that very bill was that they want to curb vote buying. They want to ensure that people are not being induced to vote for people and all that, and that is the reason they came up with that very bill, possibly to shore up the currency, that's the naira, in terms of other currencies, especially dollar. Don't you think it may still be defeated if nothing is done, or if they have to extend the date?
The issue of curbing the issue of vote buying, I don't think it's a sufficient reason to do this. It's not everybody in the country that is going to be voting on that day, but everybody needs his money to run his personal life and his businesses. And if you now punish some people who are ordinarily apolitical, after all, not everybody in Nigeria registered, not 220 million people registered during this last exercise. So if you take a fraction that registered for this last exercise, and because of what they are going to participate in, you are punishing the entire 220 million people, that is not a balanced public policy. The policy should be structured and implemented in a manner that it will add value to the life of the people for whom it was churned out. For you to do it targeting a segment of the society with being unmindful of the rest, it's not
the greater majority.
It's the greater majority, actually. People who registered to participate in this election, who you might think that will be involved in vote buying and vote selling, they are minor compared to the major who are running their personal lives, their businesses and other things that some of them are even apolitical. So why structure a policy based on a particular event? A policy should be structured for the growth of the economy beyond an event. So it shouldn't be event tailored. It should be public interest tailored.
Okay.
And that is why we are contesting that we must be, made to understand why it must happen now. You see, don't take it away that it will help the economy.